AI. I have the opportunity to talk about it throughout the country. And here's the reality. While I talk a lot about it, I don't necessarily like it. And it's moving faster than I would like it to. I often think it's a little bit like the aging process. I don't like that any longer either, and it's moving faster than I'd like it to. But in both cases, I better figure out how to deal with it, and we as educators better figure out how to deal with it both in how we organize and deliver instruction and the skills and knowledge we prepare kids for in their future. The reality of it is we keep playing catch up with AI. If I think back 2 years ago, what we find across the country is that most people were in education were really opposed to it because it truly challenged our instructional practices and kids could cheat using it. And many of our educators are still in that view of AI because in fact it does challenge our instructional practices. Kids can and are cheating with it. But a lot of educators began to say, you know what, while I don't like it in our schools, I'm going to use it in my daily activities. I'm going to have it help me with my lesson plans, with my communications, a lot of different ways. They began to use it to complete tasks that they had to do. And some of our educators began to say, wow, the whole world is doing that. And they began to say, wow, our kids better figure out how to deal with AI, which meant simple things like how do you write the prompt, how you be a sophisticated AI editor. And to a great extent, that's where we are in public education today. But the reality of it is, if you study AI carefully, and you put a stake in the ground 2 years from now, and you begin to say, where will AI be? And what is its really profound impact on the world we're preparing our kids for? And then, therefore, what do our kids need to know, do, and be like in this changing workplace and society? Ladies and gentlemen, we need to do that. Recently, 60 Minutes did a couple, I thought, incredible pieces on AI, where they showed that it's about to change fundamentally in the next couple of years. Now, when we talk to kids about writing a prompt and being a sophisticated editor, which many schools are doing, we always tell them they have to do that because it gets its information from the internet. And the internet can have political biases, have downright incorrect information. And so you're pulling it from really a somewhat contaminated source. Well, what we need to do, if you put that stake in the ground over the next 2 years and say, where's it going? You'll recognize pretty quickly that all these chip factories being built, those chips have AI embedded in them. And as they have AI embedded in and they communicate with each other, and that's what the 60 Minute story was so good at telling, that AI is going to change from getting its information simply from the internet, but it's also get it from the very environment in which we live, work, and interact. It's going to look at things and make its own interpretation. And suddenly the information is going to be much more robust and at the same time may be incorrect. So as that happens and businesses begin to use it and we begin to use it in our personal lives, you really need to think about what's the impact on the skills, knowledge, and attributes our kids are going to need. And how do we organize our instructional programs over the next couple of years to do it? As we've watched with the districts having the greatest success at this, what we find they have done is they've taken that, a third or the quarter of the staff really excited about AI, and they've turned them loose. And they've said, really help us figure out and try to implement some of these things in our classrooms while still embracing the core academics that we need to teach. And then they have that group begin to run awareness programs for the superintendent and cabinet and board and the general public. And we encourage you, when that 1/3, include some students in it. In other words, what are we saying? It's time not to be reactive to AI. It's time to be proactive. And that's what the cutting edge districts are doing. Hope these comments are helpful to you as you think about where you're going to lead your classroom and your schools over the next several years. Thank you.